Right now, the government says it is working around the clock to ensure repair works on the Aburi Mountains resume, at least within the next month. The project on the Aburi Road has stalled following failure of contractor CST Limited to meet the 5-month deadline set by the Highway Authority to complete it. Last year, the Highway Authority announced the closure of the road for 5 months from June 22 to November 19, 2016 to allow the contractor stabilize the slope and halt the fall of rocks. 1 year after its closure, the Aburi lane of the road remains closed to motorists, resulting in heavy traffic and deterioration of the Aburi-bound side of the carriageway. JoyNews' Favor Nunu has more in the following report.
The Accra-bound carriageway of the Aburi Mountain has remained closed for almost a year now. Following from the evidence that was gathered with respect to the rock falls, a decision was taken to close the roads here. Since its closure, the traffic situation here on the Aburi Mountains continues to become terrible, as residents say the closure of the road, spanning close to a year, continues to affect productivity.
Actually, it's affecting us a lot of traffic during holidays and weekends. You'll be in a line for almost 2 to 3 hours before using a place of, let's say, 5 minutes. You stay in a queue for a very long time. Wow. So it's affecting us a lot.
I don't know, it doesn't make sense. The contractors started working nicely. Sadly, they just hold the work and things are getting tough.
When was the last time you saw works on the road itself?
Getting to 5 months now, I don't see any contractor on the road or they are doing anything on the road that I've seen it.
We're here on the carriageway that has been closed to observe exactly what the situation is. Workers from this end have actually stopped working. They maintain equipments that were used in the construction and in the establishing of these hexagonal mesh over the mountain have been destroyed. We're seeing rock falls still happening now. You would find that the rocks that are falling are in volumes that the wire mesh itself cannot easily contain, and therefore it's built up down here as it looks pregnant. If this continues, the challenge may be that the cables that hold it and the screws that have been fixed firmly into the ground, allowing it to be firm, may uproot, and then all of this pours down back on the road. Residents are calling for a different technology maybe to be applied in dealing with this situation of rock falls.
The rocks are still falling.
Okay.
They've put in a wire mesh, but still the rocks are falling. I do construction, so I know a little bit about construction. I thought they are coming to do it as like steps. When they do it step, they concrete the down, it goes. The concrete, the rocks will not fall. But the pressure that the rod comes, no matter what the mesh, it will come down because they hook it at the top. When the hook is off, the rock will surely come.
Every point of holding is your womb. This is not in what they are saying. Time will come out. It's only started by a big jury.
The Aburi Mountains contains water, so the rocks will continue to fall as long as it rains. The wire mesh technology deployed to prevent the rocks from falling will not work. Government should rather expand the road and leave some distance on the side of the mountain.
Due to the closure of the roads, which has spanned over a year now, gaping holes are already developing on the Aburi-bound carriageway as a result of its excessive use by motorists.
Because of the closure of the other side, this side is receiving more pressure. And you know, more cars applies the road. So some parts of the road, the first asphalt, the blinder, is removing gradually. If you go through the mountains, you see some portions of it.
Nowadays, there are potholes on the road. I think because they've closed one side of the road, maybe the bearing capacity that the contractor calculated before constructing the other side, now the both sides are using the same side. So it's carrying more load that maybe that is not the way they calculated it.
According to some drivers who spoke to JoyNews, The narrow nature of the road presents to them a death trap.
The fear is maybe there's a huge truck coming from you, but it carries load coming. But the other side have already closed. So if you are coming to, you have to curve to some place before getting it. So if your brake or something is disturbing you, if you are coming, it gives us fear a lot. It's very dangerous. And the cars too from Koforidua and Aburi Trotros and those trucks are passing the road. It's a one way, so it used to disturb us a lot.
Meanwhile, filth is also building up on the shoulders of the road as holiday revelers leave the remains of their food and unwanted material on the streets. JoyNews contacted the contractors for the project, CST Limited, but they declined to comment on why work had exceeded the duration given by the Highway Authority. From the Accra-bound carriageway of the Aburi Mountains, my name is Favor Nunu, reporting for JoyNews.
Favor Nunu with that report. However, speaking with Beatrice Edu, Deputy Roads Minister Anthony Cabo rejected claims that the project has been abandoned. He says government has been meeting with the contractors in an effort to provide what they need so work could resume at least within a month.
The urgency with which this contract must be executed hasn't been what has been witnessed over the past few months. The Sector Minister, Honorable Amakwata, convened a meeting between the contractor and the resident engineer. Apparently, there were some irreconcilable differences in respect to scope of work and some certificates that have been raised for payment. And I'm hoping that that issue is currently before the Road Fund for consideration for payments are concerned so that the contractor can get on site.
You're saying that you're working hard to ensure that the contractors get back to work. Does it mean that over the period, the work was temporarily abandoned?
Well, I don't think the word abandoned was the issue. There were some irreconcilable differences between the contractor and the resident engineer because he needed to certify a lot of the work that were done before payments were made.
Are you willing to share with us what those challenges were, the reason they could not continue with the work?
I mentioned slope protection engineering is not very pervasive areas of study in our country, and we do not have contractors who have the competence and skill in that. It's a very sophisticated area. We need contractors who have the skill.
Apart from the payments, you're also talking about the need for specific technologies, which also kind of affected the work in a way. Are you saying that this contract was given initially without these new technologies in mind?
It wasn't all contractors who were willing to take up this job. Don't forget, I mentioned that. And the fact that this contractor stepped up for the job because he had some partners who had the expertise in delivering this. And so once payments were not forthcoming, it was difficult for you to continue to keep the partners here in Ghana.
How soon do you think that the payments will be made so that work will resume?
As soon as possible, my dear sister. As soon as possible.
You have a range, maybe 2 months, 3 months?
I don't think it will even go beyond a month.
Finally, Mr. Cabo, is the government considering getting new contractors on board?
Well, I think that the old contractor has demonstrated capacity to do this job. And the fact that he's working with some foreign partners who are bringing in the technology, and I guess that the previous administration might have scrutinized that. It's an emergency project, so we don't hope to, in any time soon, consider a new contractor for this job.